to us eventually, man. Like we talk to you all the time. Like, how's practice going so far this week? What do you think of this Purdue team?
Practice has been good. Purdue has a really strong defense. I think they're top 10 in the nation, so a lot of guys on that defense are very good, very impressive. So it's been a good week of practice. We've really honed in on film and watching them and learning their techniques and things like that.
Where do you feel like you guys are as an offensive line right now? I know it's been a little up and down. Where do you feel like you guys are right now, Nick?
I think we're still improving. I think there's still a lot of room for us to grow. Although we're a few games into the season, we're kind of into the death pit now. I still think that there's still a lot of room for us to grow, not only in terms of playing, but also just how we come together and just being able to understand each other.
Coach Day mentioned after a game that you had missed some practice time last week. Are you healthy right now?
Yeah, I'm all good now.
What were you dealing with last week?
I had a loss in the family, so I had to go and be home back in Tampa, and I was there for a few days, and then I came back, and then I also left again this week. So
sorry to hear that.
I appreciate you.
For you guys, just as an offensive line, I mean, what do you think are maybe the biggest things that you guys need to do to really get this run game rolling again?
Just making sure we communicate more, understanding our assignments and things like that, and just executing. That's always been a thing that our offense has always talked about every single week, is that we need to execute and create energy on and off the field. So as long as we execute, that's how we create our energy.
Nick, is the issue of, as we go through a season, obviously teams study you study them. Is it a situation where the game gets kind of complicated at times, and it can be difficult to move people, communicate? Is that a factor in trying to get the run game unclogged, if you will, just trying to deal with the changes?
I mean, we're in the Big Ten conference, and there's some of the best coaches here on our staff and also other staffs as well. They're always scheming, they're always planning things out. That's a big reason why a lot of us wanted to come here, because we knew that there was going to be challenges every single week. It's one of the toughest conferences in the nation. And with that also comes challenges of people also scouting us and learning our tendencies. So all we need to do is be able to adjust on the fly in game and be able to figure them out.
Can you go through the difficulty of that, especially like the road environment you were in last week, the communication component of that? I know you practice it, but how difficult can that be in the heat of the battle?
I mean, so in terms of like road environments, I mean, it's probably like Nebraska was one of the loudest stadiums that we have played in. I mean, we played in Nebraska 2 years ago, and it was pretty loud. It was a night game, but even though it was an afternoon game, people thought it was probably be a little bit lighter. No, it was still loud. So the best ways that we prepare for that is that we try to like blast music at practice to try to simulate that crowd environment of us being on offense, or if we have a big game here at Ohio State, like when we play Penn State, we blasted a noise when our defense was on the field. So we try to simulate that type of environment as well, and just being able to communicate.
What does George White like to speak?
A lot. I mean, he's having probably like an All-American season. He's probably one of the better DNs in the Big Ten, if not in the country. He's just very strong, very athletic, really good pass rusher, and impresses the run well when it comes to tackles and tight ends and things like that. Just all around a very solid player, great player.
Is this one of those times in the season where you can finally lean on the experience of going against Zach and Tyreek and those guys in practice and training camp, now you kind of fall back on what you did against those guys to take it to the field against the guys in practice?
I mean, I lean on them every single week, every single week when we go and play in the Big Ten. I mean, there's a great challenge every single week, although some guys maybe not have the same notoriety. Other guys, like, don't get it twisted. Every single week we're always going up against some of the best competition, and this is another one of those opportunities. Just going up against Zach and Tyreek and all the other DNs that we have here, it's always great. It's always great competition and great reps for me to get him to improve.
So for the next 3 weeks, you got Karlaftis and a couple guys from Michigan State, and then a couple guys from Michigan. Are you looking forward to this? It's kind of a measuring stick for where you are and where the offensive line is as a whole to go against guys that are really talented like that?
Yeah, I mean, like in terms of just in general, I mean, we're always looking forward to every single week that we play, because it's another challenge and opportunity for us to not only get better as a team and as an offensive line unit, but to prove ourselves and improve how good we can be and how well we can improve week in and week out. But then also with some of the challenges, there's always going to be great players on every single team, wherever they are. So it's always a great measuring stick for the offensive line, for us as a whole, to play up against great players and great competition, and just see ourselves and try to learn from those past experiences, watch a film, and improve every single week.
Nick, you guys went through a stretch where you were scoring 50 points every week. You're just blowing people away. Offensive line is dominating. It's been a little bit tougher stretch right now. How would you assess how well the line is playing right now and what needs to get better?
I think we're still playing well. I think that there's just a few things in terms of communication that we can improve on. I think there's a lot of executing that we can also improve on as well, making sure we do our assignments correctly and knowing exactly where to go and who to go to and IDing things correctly. So there's a lot of things that we can still improve on, and I think that week in and week out, like the Big Ten, like I said, one of the toughest conferences in the nation. It's not like every single week you're going to just roll through people. You know, there's always going to be great competition. There's always going to be great coaches that scheme up against you. All we can do is just work through those challenges and get better every single week.
So when Nick play at the end of the game, when you were probably the most famous display of the Nebraska game, the one where CJ got stripped, Kevin Wilson said yesterday if the protection had been there, it probably would have been a touchdown because Chris Olave was open. Walk us through that play. What happened on that play?
There was just a miscommunication on the offensive line. We didn't execute our slide on that side. So there's a miscommunication, and that was just something that we talked about in the film, and that's something those are mental errors. Those are things that we can't have, and those are miscues that we just need to improve on and make sure that we fix.
Nick, I think you guys used 4 different alignments of offensive linemen over the course of that game, whether it was because DeJuan had to be out, whether it was because they were moving Matt in. So how important is cohesion to offensive line performance, and is that part of the factor of the last 2 weeks that you guys have not really had 5 that you're just going with and kind of building together as a unit?
I mean, cohesion is big, but I think I talked about this at the beginning of the season and throughout the season that we have a great 2 groups of guys, almost even 3 groups of guys that we're comfortable rolling out there, you know? We all have been doing different positions and working on different positions throughout camp and throughout the season, just in case something were to go down. And we have a lot of guys that are talented enough to play at different positions and play when their number is called and to be at their very best, whenever that is.
Hey, Nick, this is about the time of year that I'm sure the coaching staff would like to be paring back practice, getting you guys fresh. But you've got such a young team that's working on, as Nathan put it, cohesion. Have you been able to do that?
A little bit here and there. I mean, we always emphasize Tuesdays as a very major practice day, and then Wednesdays as well. But we always try to emphasize that every single rep matters. No matter whether it's a Tuesday rep, a Wednesday rep, or it's Thursday when we're in Spiders, whatever day it is, we always try to emphasize every single rep matters. And whatever the situation is, whatever type of gear we're in, we always try to make sure that we emphasize our technique, make sure we emphasize our steps and hand placement and things like that.
How difficult?
Coach Day was talking about Purdue's front 7. He mentioned it at least a couple of times. What exactly do they do? I mean, are they fast, strong, quick? Are they into trips?
I mean, all of the above. I mean, they're probably one of the strongest groups that we've seen so far. They have a lot of great athletes as well. They're also very strong. I mean, they're just a very talented group, very talented front 7 overall.
How difficult is it starting a game at right tackle like you did last week when you've been playing mostly left tackle this year?
You know, I got used to it, kind of. I mean, I've been having a few moments where I had to switch over at right, and I remember the first time that I had to switch over at right, it was kind of a little bit shaky at first. I was kind of like, oh, this is new. I got to, like, re-switch back to over being right, but I think I've done it now over a few weeks where I've been able to just go in and do some reps at right, not only in-game but also at practice as well. So I'm getting actually pretty comfortable with it now.
Nick, it appeared that Nebraska was using a lot of, like, what I call it angles more than anything else with their defensive line, basically kind of going across y'all's faces, things like that, which kind of muddied the water, for want of another term, of, you know, getting to the second level with it, you know, off of double team blocks and things like that. Have you noticed a little bit of a trend now by defenses line up on you guys and trying to muddy the water for you guys up front?
I mean, defense are going to try anything they can to muddy waters against any opponent they do.
Yeah.
I would say that has been happening, that they have been doing a few stunts like that inside, trying to push everything inside. But, you know, all we can do is that just do our technique, do our assignments, and, you know, we can scheme up against it if we need to, or if we feel like the play's there, that we just need to be able to block it.
Yeah, and Coach Wilson pointed out yesterday, and you may have already been asked this before I walked up here, that, you know, one of the things y'all were stressing this week was basically things have got to get vertical eventually, you know, from just moving across and things like that. Have y'all worked on that a lot this week about getting a little more vertical, you know, for want of another term, with your push?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on that every single week, just trying to make sure that our blocks get vertical and things like that. I think that's something that's been emphasized a little bit more the past few weeks. But, you know, anything can change. Like we may go into a game and we realize that, hey, we need to do something differently, or whatever we had going into the week, hey, the defense is doing something different. So it's all about in-game adjustments, really, at the end of the day when it comes to stuff like that.
Nick, when you guys were that stretch where this offense was just laying waste to people, did you feel like the offensive line was really killing it at that point, or did you come out of that segment of the season still thinking, just because of whatever standard you guys are judging yourselves by, that there was still room to grow, or did that only get evident these last couple of weeks?
We saw there was still room to grow during that time, but we were feeling good about ourselves. We felt like we were playing pretty well, and sometimes you get caught up a little bit in all of those emotions and things like that, and sometimes you kind of slip up here and there. But at the end of the day, we always, every single week, we never came out of a week saying, hey, we're perfect, or hey, we're right where we need to be. We always saw that there was room for improvement. That's just how this program is. There's always room for improvement. And we try to find those things, and we try to hone in on the mistakes and try to fix them before they become real mistakes. We try to enhance our strengths to try to make sure that we enhance those throughout the season.
Nick, I wanted to ask you about Zach.
Last question here.
It's just seemed in recent weeks that he's forced fumbles, he's getting tackles for lost sacks and whatnot. Do you feel like he's becoming like a table setter? I know he hasn't taken a scoop and score back, but I mean he's allowed for other guys in the D-line. Just have you seen his approach and just his role on the defensive line move anything?
I mean, overall, he's probably one of the leaders on the defensive line. I mean, he's a strong player and also a strong leader, not only for the D-line, actually, but for the defense in general. Zach's just been playing really well. He's been playing out of his mind lately, and it shows up in practice. That's kind of where we always talk about that. When you see guys are playing well on Saturdays, you usually see them playing well on practice on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and they're really locked in on Thursdays. And then on Fridays, when we go walkthroughs, they have the fine details, and they're minute, and they're always to the T where they need to be.
And then another difference maker in games has been Noah Ruggles. When the offense maybe can't punch it in, he's been able to nail field goals in these close games. Just what do you make of him? It's his first year with Ohio State since transferring. Just what's his clutch gene like for you?
Well, he's a Tampa kid, so in terms of clutch gene, it's probably because he's from Tampa. But no, I mean he's just an amazing player, an amazing guy as well. We're lucky to have him. He's a great kicker, as you all have been talking about as well, and the sky's the limit for him. I mean, as long as he just keeps working every single day and keeps doing the things that we always do here at this program, which is trying to find things that we can work on that are our strength and improve those, and then also whatever our weaknesses are to make sure that we fix those before they become issues. Like, as long as he keeps doing what he's been doing and keep preparing the way he's been preparing, he'll be great.
Great. Nicholas.